What? What's this?
I made chicken for dinner.
Chicken will kill us all! Boom! Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and click on the link in the description box below to sign up for the Tiger Fitness newsletter. Within a week of publishing this video, we will give out a $50 gift card to tigerfitness.com to one lucky person who does all of these steps. Boom! What's up, everyone? Marc Lobliner, tigerfitness.com, CEO MTS Nutrition. I recently watched this movie called What the Health, a documentary on Netflix. And I gotta say, it was one of the most one-sided, opinionated, propagandist piece of crap documentaries I've ever seen in my life. I'm not saying that everything about it was wrong. I'm saying that it presented one side, completely neglected the other side of the story. As with any video like this, they're going to vilify the government, which even the pro-fat people do. I mean, for example, I have pointed for years and years and years the fact that childhood onset diabetes did not really exist till we started putting out low-fat foods. Because what happens? When you take fat out of the diet, what's going to happen? Well, you're going to replace it with something. Fat satiates, fat blunts hunger, fat can blunt insulin in certain cases. So when you just keep ingesting sugar and carbohydrate, because the food pyramid has on the bottom, well, simple carbohydrates. So what's going to happen? Well, you're going to eat more. Type 2 diabetes, syndrome X, a bunch of bad stuff happens. So, but we always blame this on the government, right? It's the government's fault. However, the movie, What the Health, actually blamed the government, the other part of the government, the Center for Disease Control, the American Health Association, the Cancer Society, they blamed all of them. So the bottom line is, who's right, who's wrong? It's in between. It's all about a balanced diet. I'm going to go over this movie and parts of it and why I think that, well, probably shouldn't waste your time watching it, but if you do, just keep an eye open for this. One thing is, you notice all the studies they have are kind of like the China study, which I believe did give us a lot of insight into some ideas of healthy eating, but the reason they keep doing studies is because there's no definitive final answer on studies, right? They always go to replicate a study. All the studies he pointed to were either a website saying something or correlation studies. There were little actual controlled lab studies on human beings, which I know would be extremely hard to do. So essentially they go by surveys. They say, oh, well, these people ate this and they end up getting heart disease. And while those do help, they give us a view, a insight into what's going on. It's not 100%. I found this to be more a hit piece on meat. Saying that eggs are the most concentrated form of deadly food ever, which I believe is pretty much what they said, and that chicken is the most dangerous thing you can eat, I believe is quite silly. I do believe the environmental issues they brought up in this are very valid, very valid. However, to link 100% undeniably the fact people are dying from cancer to meat is a bit far-fetched. There's a lot of environmental factors. We can't just say, okay, this is it. And the bottom line is he's neglecting a lot of good things because essentially he said even sugar is healthy, but we're vilifying saturated fat, which I've done a video, the coconut oil video, that coconut oil is healthy for you. I'm not saying get 100 million grams of coconut oil a day, but don't avoid it. For example, improved cardiovascular health. The addition of saturated fat to the diet reduces the levels of a substance called lipoprotein A that correlates strongly with the risk for heart disease. Research showing that women who diet, those who eat the greater percentage of total fat, saturated fat, lost more weight. Saturated fat also helps with stronger bones. Saturated fat also helps with improved liver health because it helps protect the liver from alcohol and medications such as acetaminophen. It also helps with a healthy brain. Share of the fatty acids in your brain are saturated. Proper nerve signaling, stronger immune system. All these things have been linked to saturated fats. There's ad nauseum. Also, remember, a lot of the studies with the very low carbohydrate diet done by Dr. Jeffrey Volek have shown that saturated fat and a higher fat diet, very low carbohydrate diet, the opposite of what this movie's saying, are extremely beneficial for lipid profiles and health measures of health. So here's the thing. I'm not saying Dr. Volek's right. I'm not saying the movie's wrong. What I'm saying is we can't just see this movie and automatically go, that's it, not eating chicken anymore. It gives us a view of some things, some ideas, some concepts to incorporate into our diet, and also gives us an idea of the damage we do to the environment when we eat certain things. But to have a definitive view on something, this movie hardly does it. Hardly does it. So, one thing I'd like to point out, they say that sugar is not a bad thing in this movie. However, we can point to a lot of things. There's also some articles circulating around the internet that I've seen that show that, basically the sugar lobby, the sugar people, lobbied for the food pyramid we have. So both sides, the meat side, the sugar side, they all have some form of government corruption involved. So what do we find out here? Well, a couple things. One is that a healthy, balanced diet is good. Including a lot of fruits and veggies in your diet with their high antioxidants is a good thing. We also know from looking at Dr. Volek's studies, it's good to have some fat in your diet. I recommend about 30% of your diet be fat, okay? More of a zone diet if you're looking for overall health, 40, 30, 30. Protein, carbon, fat, 40, 30, 30 is good to go, right? And then about 20 to 30% of your total fat intake, which is 30% of your diet, coming from saturated fat, which could be coconut oil, which could be eggs, any form of saturated fat, try and avoid trans fats. However, if you have a couple micrograms of that, it's not going to kill you either. It's all about balance and moderation. And also what you can adhere to. You know what I mean? Going to a barbecue and abstaining from eating a breast of chicken or a slab of ribs, that's really hard to do. So what we need to do is learn how to incorporate, maybe cutting down on meat if you're an environmentalist. I personally love the environment. I love my nature walks. I would hate for a pig farm to get in the way of that. I personally don't really eat pork, but if there's ribs at a picnic, I'm going to eat some, although I didn't yesterday. I agree with the environmental damage we're doing with livestock. So maybe there's a better way to do it. Maybe it's more about grass-fed. I don't know enough about it, but we need to educate ourselves. We need to stop falling for the latest fad or the latest trend. Just because the government comes out with a food guide or a food pyramid doesn't mean we need to follow it. We need to question that. So what's the best in between? Take what you see from the far-reaching side of this movie. Take what you see from the far-reaching side of the research done by the VLCD researchers, very low carbohydrate diet like Jeffrey Volek, and look for a nice healthy medium. But to think that this movie is the conclusive word in solving cancer is highly beyond us. And I will leave this with a statement or a conversation I had when I used to live in North Carolina. I actually sat by a brain cancer researcher from Duke University because while I was flying into Raleigh, and they're in Raleigh, Chapel Hill, right next door. And I remember I sat there and we talked about brain science for the whole flight. It was a 2.5-hour flight. At the end, I said, "Doctor," I said, "you've done all this research on all this research on brains, on cancer. What is the main thing we can do to prevent cancer?" He said, "From what I can tell, it's bad luck. You can do all you want. You can live the most perfect life. Sometimes you just don't have the best of luck and you get it. Just like sometimes you get the flu one year and sometimes you don't. Healthiest individual in the world, get a flu. Somebody who smokes every day and drinks a pack of weed, smokes every day, drinks a six-pack every day, might never get sick. You can help prevent things, but you can't say definitively that this cures it." Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know your opinion down below. I'm Marc Lobliner, TigerFitness.com. What the hell? That's not a game.